Good evening. Welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. If anybody would like an agenda, they are on the stool right outside the door. Paula Raymond, would you please stand and lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on our agenda is a disclosure of conflict of interest. Is there any councilor that feels they have a conflict of interest with any votes coming up tonight? Not seeing any, we will move on to unfinished business. Oh, approval of the consent agenda. Missed that. Come on. Here we go.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Now, unfinished business, Order 113, 2019.
Move to read by title only.
And second.
All in favor?
Order number 113, 2019, an order providing for sale of city property off Airport Road.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Mike, where do we stand on this now?
I checked with the purchaser about how he hopes to connect to the city's road, the end of the airport road. And I told him that we would at least identify from the end of the pavement how far it is to his line so he can figure out that distance that he's going to have to bridge and how that's going to have to be covered. So that's the only conversation I've had.
And so are we going to grant him some sort of temporary easement that would go away in the event that we build a permanent road?
I think that's the form it would take. Bill Lee would be the final judge on that, but I think that's, he would definitely need an easement to cross on our land. Yes.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing as none, I'll ask for a roll call.
Councilor Morris,
Yes.
Councilor Bofia,
Yes.
Councilor Smith,
Yes.
Councilor Mayhew,
Yes.
Councilor Kaleo,
Yes.
Councilor Tate,
Yes.
Councilor Thomas,
Yes.
All right. Moving on. Nobody could get it right. Don't worry.
It's the phonetic spelling.
Last, under unfinished business, we have Order 124, 2019.
Move to read by title only.
And second.
All in favor?
an order providing for the issuance of general obligation bonds in the amount of $5,636,000 for capital projects.
Move to adopt.
And second.
And the floor is open for council discussion.
I made copies of the bond items if there are any questions or if you need a copy of what they were.
Seeing as nothing coming from the council, I will open the floor to the public. Any comments or questions? Seeing as none, I'll call for a roll call, please.
Councilor Morris?
Yes.
Councilor Bofia?
Yes.
Councilor Smith?
Yes.
Councilor Mayhew?
Yes.
Councilor Coelho?
Yes.
Councilor Tate?
Yes.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
Moving on to new business, we have Order 126, 2019.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Order 126, 2019, an order providing for acceptance of grants funds to support a program director position at the Quarry Road Recreation Area.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And Matt, do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, should I come up?
Yeah, please. Be great.
Matt Skane, Parks and Recreation Department. We're very excited about this new position and be a full-time position under the direction of our department. All the praise and thanks for the hard work goes to the Friends of Quarry Road group. We have Ulla Amundsen here, who was kind of the driving force behind, I think, finding and coming up with this position, along with Jennifer Kierstead, who writes grants for Friends of Quarry Road. It could be a game-changing situation for the venue. We're pretty well, our bandwidth is maxed out with my time and the volunteer board's time. This position will allow us to explore more programs, more events, more partnerships, to bring it to a level where I think it could be and should be. The venue is really, it's like a miniature state park. It's got everything that you could possibly want in a outdoor recreation area right here in the city. So we're so lucky to have it. We're so lucky to have the board that's doing the hard work on things like this. So I'm hoping that you accept it. We have a job description. We have a memorandum of understanding that I hope you can familiarize yourselves with. It's just a general agreement on how we will oversee the position. Trying to think if there's anything I'm missing. I'm real excited about it. We're hoping to advertise early August and hire by October 1st. So that's our timeline.
And just to be clear for the audience, a new position and the money's already been raised, correct?
3 of the 4 foundations have committed, and we've gotten a verbal confirmation on the 4th. We feel very, very good about the
Well,
money.
Kudos to you and the board for that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Counselor.
Yeah, Matt, I want to commend you for the work out there, including the Friends of the Quarry Road, and I think this position is long overdue. I really do. I think the Quarry Road Recreation Area is one of the jewels of Waterville that has become an asset like there's no other. I mean, what that area is like none other in the region. And it's definitely an economic engine, has built the local economy up. I mean, I know of several instances and several events that have been there where hotels have been booked, and certainly the fast food restaurants are bustling. I definitely see a lot of talk on the streets. I hear a lot about a lot of those things that goes on in that area, and this position is just going to expand that ability with programs, with other events, with other things that can be put down there and attract and build that local economy even more and put boots on the ground, put cars on the road. I mean, the more that we can advertise it and really, put this area into the map on Maine and in this particular region, Kennebec County, it's going to be awesome.
Right, thank you. And the goal after the 3 years is to have it be so successful that it sustains itself.
Yeah.
So we're not just hoping for 3 years, we're hoping for a lot longer than that.
Absolutely.
Great. Any other questions? Yeah.
So can we know how much is the salary?
It'd probably be somewhere in the 40s.
In the 40s?
Because we have to consider, benefits and all that business too. So it would be somewhere in the 40s. Yeah.
And it says here that no money will be coming from the city.
Correct. Yeah.
And I read paragraph 2 of the agreement here. It says the position of director for the QRR shall be maintained by the city for so long as funds to support this position are made available by FOQR and other sources. What is the other sources?
Fundraising efforts, private groups, foundations.
That doesn't mean that if the FOQR comes short of getting money, the city, we're going to go after TIF money or city money, correct?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
Okay. I would remind everybody here that we can't bind future councils. There's always going to be rotating politicians up here, and they are free to make whatever decisions they want with regards to spending.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council? How about from the public? Seeing as none, I'll take a vote. All in favor? None opposed. Great, thank you. Next is Resolution 127, 2019.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
A resolution providing for memorandum of understanding with the Friends of Quarry Road. Oh, whoops, sorry.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Oh, I get the right one.
That's right. Any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor? Vote is unanimous. Next, Resolution 128, 2019.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
A resolution providing for a declaration of intent for bond issuance and general fund reimbursement.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions?
So to clarify, this is just to allow us to go forward with the bond that we've approved.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It allows us to spend money before the money comes in, and we can reimburse ourselves. And that's going to be true, I think, with a couple of projects. Streetlights, for one thing.
Yeah.
We're going to start spending money soon. And also probably at the fire station, building repairs. So this is an important thing to do, is make sure we get approval from you folks to spend it, knowing the money's coming in.
Great. Thank you. Take a vote. All in favor? Next is Order 129, 2019.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
An order providing for amendment to City of Waterville, Maine, Lockwood Mills Municipal Development and Tax Increment Financing District and related development program.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And Michael, I see you getting ready to come up.
It's certainly not an overstatement to say that this is a really big and important project. Given everything else going on in the downtown and the location of this mill property, this is a hugely important thing for the city, not only the downtown, but the city as a whole. So this proposal has come before the TIF Advisory Committee 2 weeks ago, and the Advisory Committee's recommendation to the City Council is to approve the TIF requests with the terms that the developers have requested. And I'm going to introduce Mariah Monks, who will be speaking on behalf of the development group. I'll let her introduce the people that are with her, and we'll have a PowerPoint, so hopefully people in the audience can also see some of the specifics about this exciting, it's a very exciting reuse of the old mill.
I don't need one.
I have one already.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Hi,
Hi.
good evening.
Welcome.
My name is Mariah Monks. I am a project manager for North River Company. My goal today is to tell you a little bit about North River Company, to give you some detail on what we've been working on at the mills the last few months, and to talk to you about our TIF request. Let me just slide. North River Company is based in Portland and New York City. We specialize in brick and beam mill development. Next slide. Some of the mills in Maine that we own and currently manage are Merrill's Wharf on Commercial Street, Brown Trading also on Commercial Street, 1 and 2 Portland Square, Fort Andros in Brunswick, and the Hathaway Creative Center, which is here in Waterville. Next slide. So we've identified 5 main goals for this project. The first goal is to revitalize a vacant and neglected yet highly visible property in downtown Waterville. We think the mills are in a very prominent location, and they're currently empty and dilapidated, but that they have potential to be fixtures within this community. The second goal is to fill the need for new and quality housing at all income levels. We've studied the market very thoroughly and found that there's a shortage of housing in Waterville and the surrounding area. The third goal is to invest in improving the south end of Main Street neighborhood and the intersection surrounding the mills. The fourth goal is the immediate remediation of the facade and the site contamination. And while we plan to redevelop the mills, we also feel very strongly about maintaining the historic integrity and mill feel of the properties. And lastly, we want to build upon the success of Hathaway and create a cohesive community feel amongst the three properties. Next slide, please. North River Company commissioned a market study, and some of the key findings I want to highlight are that first, based on population and vacancy rates, there's an approximate demand of 460 units. Secondly, that 45% of the housing stock in this area is 55 years or older. And lastly, the market study estimated that given where absorption and vacancy rates are at currently, the mill would be 95% stabilized within 7 months of completion, which is very fast for these types of properties. Next slide. So this slide is to just orient you to the project. You'll see that the southernmost building is Hathaway Creative Center. The middle building is CMP, and the reverse L-shaped property is the Martins Building. As part of this renovation, we're also going to be building a parking lot in the elbow of the Martins Building. That's roughly 97 parking spaces. There's also parking in between the Martins and CMP buildings, as well as indoor parking on the southeast side of CMP. Next slide, please. So we are taking a phased approach with a minimum of 2 phases. Right now, phase 1 consists of 67 residential units, 22 of which will be market rate, and 45 of which will be workforce housing. We're also thinking about doing approximately 10,000 square feet of commercial space along Water Street. As I mentioned, we're building 97 parking spaces in the lot next to Martins. There's also going to be parking in between the buildings and indoor parking in the CMP building. Amenities will include a gym, community center, community room, bike storage, green space, covered parking, and residential storage. Next slide, please. So this is a rough outline of the TIF district, which is also the rough footprint of phase 1. And you'll see that phase 1 includes all of the CMP building and the western side of the Martins Building. Next slide, please. Our TIF request is 75% for 30 years. We are asking for this TIF for 2 main reasons. The first is that we can leverage more debt and help our other funders spread their resources more effectively. The tax benefit here is not going to be used to juice returns or to increase our developer fee. It will be used to pay debt service. And secondly, the 75% and 30-year TIF gets us 4 critical points on the tax credit scorecard. We're going to be applying for main housing tax credits, which is a highly competitive subsidy that is based on a point system. For example, main housing allocates points, more points for things like accessibility and a project's proximity to public transportation and schools. And the projects with the maximum amount of points are allocated tax credits. Can you go to the next slide? To highlight how important the tax credits are to this project, you can see in this slide that approximately $7.8 million of the total 19.3 project costs will be in the form of affordable housing tax credits, and that getting these credits is critical to the success of this project. In addition to tax credits, we're also going to be applying for his state and federal historic tax credits, along with main housing mortgage, which is just main housing debt, and we're also going to be using investor capital. And the last slide is to just show you a breakdown of a rough estimate of what our total project cost is for Phase 1, which is approximately $19.3 million. I would open it to the floor for questions at this point. Yes.
I would just like to say Waterville is very blessed to be working with such a great team. In the short time that we've been working with you so far, it's rare to have a team come in this professional. That was actually when we had TIF committee, one of the comments was this was one of the most prepared, well thought out plans that we've probably ever seen, particularly with all of the numbers and financials that we had available to us. I would just like to say to the council and to the public, this is perhaps one of the most critical projects we could imagine in our city, particularly because, as Mariah said, the location of the project. As you can see from the numbers that were just discussed, these are very, very difficult financial pictures to paint, and it's still kind of up in the air because they still have a lot of work to do, and it still is contingent upon all these things falling into place. I'm really excited about it. I hope that the council votes unanimously to pass this. I certainly don't want to spend another 2 decades looking at rundown mills with broken windows when we could be inviting hundreds of people to come in and live and share in our community in a wonderful place. So thanks for the presentation, and that's my commentary. Anybody else from the council? Counselor?
Yeah, I believe that this is an absolute must for the community. Obviously, for the economic revitalization that's currently going on downtown. It ties in with every project that's happening. It's housing that the community desperately needs, including the region. It opens up the south end to further revitalization and market value, which is very important for a gateway into that part of our city as well. The housing alone in itself with market rate and affordable workforce housing is something that we absolutely need in the city of Waterville. Lots of studies have been done with the millennial generation, and a lot of the millennials are more interested in renting than they are buying. So this is going to be a great appeal to that segment of people that's looking for affordable housing and to be near downtown. So again, this goes with the plan, the strategic plan of putting more foots and boots on the ground as far as the local economy is concerned. You don't get a lot of money in revenue from this project, but this project is directly going to impact everything that we're doing downtown and as a community. And the positives far, far outweigh. And like I said, I second the mayor when we're talking about appearance, where the strategic place of these old mills are. And I think it's, again, a blessing that North River Company, which has a proven track record in the state of Maine with successful projects, including the redevelopment of several old mills, that this is going to be a great success and very much welcome. Again, they still have hurdles to go through. So, and I'm with the mayor. I totally support this TIF project, and I encourage council to do as well.
Thank you.
Councilor Bofia?
Thank you for the presentation. It's a great project, I would say. Looking at what it will do for the city, I think that should it come to pass, will do great things. I want to thank the TIF committee for doing their due diligence and giving us information on the project. Just a couple of questions, right, as far as the project goes. When he says that the project will be stabilized within 7 months, that means that it will be occupied, fully occupied within 7 months?
Yes, Phase 1.
Okay. All right. And as far as the budget, actually, no, the financing breakdown. So here, the amount in tax credit that you guys are going to be seeking for the project is about 15 million?
Yes, 15 million.
About 15. So that's not a repayable loan. It's just credits.
Yep.
Okay. So what you guys are paying on is just a mortgage and a repayment to the investors for their capital. Correct. Okay. Is it public information how much your company is valued at?
Would value it?
Yeah. What your company is valued at?
You mean how we would value this project?
Not at the project. The valuation of the company taking on the project.
The valuation, I'm not sure I understand the question.
How much the
much-
company is worth?
My company is worth?
I think
If
that,
that is public information.
I don't know the answer to that. It's a private company. We are in multiple different states. We have over, I think, 25 projects that we own and operate currently. I can't give you a number right now in terms of what we have, what we're valued as a company.
Yeah, that's okay.
Have that
That's why it says
information. Yeah,
large company.
yeah, it's a large company.
Okay.
We manage over, like 3.5 million square feet across the country.
Yeah. Okay. So I asked to Mike, I know it was last minute, I was looking at some projection as far as revenue projection. He said you guys might have that information. Is that something that you have?
Yeah, well, so again, the numbers are still a work in progress, but typically tax credit projects have anemic returns because it's affordable housing, and so the revenue that you actually get isn't nearly as close as it would be for a market rate project.
Yeah.
Right now, we're underwriting to about 35,000 a year
right.
after debt service.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
After
I knew
debt
we saw
service.
that number somewhere.
I just didn't see it, and I know I asked last minute, it was something that I was looking at. So the mortgage payment, it's valued by $236,000.
The mortgage payment,
I think that's what it was.
I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but the mortgage payment will be based off that $4 million in Main State housing debt.
Okay. So, and because one of the things that I heard about the project is if you guys don't get the C amount from the project might not happen. Is that?
So the way the point system works is,
Go back.
yeah, I mean, their ability to get that mortgage is based off having the highest number of points. So, and their ability to get the tax credits to make it happen are also available on that. Every time you shrink that CEA, the points go down, their ability to borrow goes down. The affordable housing tax credits either go down or maybe don't make the cut, because there's obviously this is in competition with other projects around the state. And so what we're trying to do is maximize the points so that they have the ability to borrow as much as they possibly can and get the affordable housing tax credits in order to get to that total of 19 million.
The only thing so to add to that is if we're with a TIF, with a 75% TIF, we can afford to pay more in debt service. Therefore, we can take a bigger mortgage. And Main State Housing likes to give mortgages over their tax credit because they can make a spread on their mortgage. And that's why they give it 4 points in the QAP, which is basically the rubric for which they score projects.
Okay. So as far as the investors, how many investors contributed to the 462?
How many investors? Well, so the capital hasn't actually been raised yet because we haven't been allocated historic or housing tax credits yet. So we haven't actually raised for the project. These are just projected numbers.
Okay. And you say
I can tell you that for every project that North River does, North River puts a minimum of 10% of their own equity in every deal.
Okay. And you said 4 points for 75. How many points would you receive for 50%?
So 75% at 30 years is the threshold for the maximum points.
For 4 is the maximum?
Yeah, for 4 is the maximum points. And then I'm not looking at the guidelines, I don't have them in front of me, but It's either 2 or 3.
So I believe it was a 75% TIF for 20 years would get them 3 points.
Right.
And then basically any TIF less than 75, the only way they get 4 points is 75% for 30 years. Anything less than that automatically knocks them down a point. And then I think like a 50%, anything less than 50% for 20 years was 2 points, and then it goes down from there.
Say 50% for 3 years will be like 3 points.
2 points.
No, you said
50%
For 30 years,
For 30
for 30 years is 3 points.
3 points.
Okay. And you think with 3 points, your project would still
Well,
be
so
good?
I should also share that we learned yesterday that there's 16 other projects that are currently competing for affordable housing tax credits, and a lot of times these projects are within 1 point.
Okay.
And I would add, my understanding is that these points are on issues that we and you cannot control, like if it's a community that has a robust public transportation infrastructure,
Yeah,
that's going to get them more
exactly.
points. We do not have that. We cannot make that happen for this project.
It's our objective as a developer to maximize the amount of points that we have that are within our control. A TIF would be one example. A management company would be another example. There's, as you mentioned, there's things that are completely outside of our control, like our proximity to a school or a supermarket.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was just the reason why, because I'm pretty sure many of the councilors know that I like TIFs. I left the project, and I'm always, good. I'm always looking, like we all are here, for ways to bring money for the city, right? And I get really, I have mixed feelings about a 75% TIF, because we just went through a budget season where we fought over $113,000, and I believe that we should capture all the money that we can. We should be able to do that. And at the same time, we're encouraging investors to be able to come to the city and do those projects that we do need. So it's a tough balance to be able to juggle all that. But I know that for my part, I think I favor a lesser CE amount.
I do too, but that's only if the project will actually happen. Kind of like the project that we just went through. If it means that the project probably isn't going to happen or disadvantages it, I think that's where we have to kind of make that determination, and you all do too. Any other counselors?
How long are you locked into the rents based on it being an affordable housing? Like, it's a certain number of years that you can't charge market rate for those,
It's 45, correct? Yeah, 45.
and that affects your valuation.
Yeah.
And then another part of this project, you guys bought the KFC building, correct?
Yep.
And that'll come down as part of this? It's
Yeah.
outside of the TIF district, but it's part of your overall
Yeah.
plan?
Our current plan is to demo that and use it for parking.
I'm sure all the surrounding people will be happy about that. Councilor Tate, yeah.
I would just like to say that I have heard from a number of business leaders in the community who are supportive of this project, both because of the importance and it's for the overall revitalization of downtown and for the really critical need for workforce housing that Waterville is facing. And I would also like to point out that despite my 10-year-old son's best efforts, he wanted to make that building into a video gaming studio for his projects. We don't have any other viable projects on the table right now, and that building is providing, I believe, 0 tax dollars for the city, or minimal tax dollars for the city. I'll correct that. So this isn't, we have a buffet of fantastic options. We have, in my opinion, one fantastic option that I think we should seriously support.
Yeah. And I just want to, when we say affordable housing, we are talking just more like along the lines of the Gilman Street project, where there actually are income requirements, there are different income levels. These are people who are going to work in our community, that are going to be able to afford a nice place to live. This isn't Section 8. This is workforce housing that's mixed with market rate. There's going to be market rate units in there too. I think it's a phenomenal project. I'm really excited about it.
I just want to add with North River, and thank God they are very interested in doing this. And the competitive market for this, for housing is just very, very, it's right off the scales. The 4-point system between 1 and 4 points, 75% TIF, that maximizes those points. The Maine Housing Authority is going to entertain probably 10 or 12 projects every year of this magnitude, of this size. So only 3 or 4 are going to make it through. So it's very important that we leverage with North River in making sure that this project has a realistic chance of getting through. Obviously, they still have other hurdles to go through, but as a municipality in the city of Waterville, I highly recommend we give them as much leverage as we can.
Any other councilors? Is this something new?
Just clarifying with the city manager. So in the repayment program here, over 30 years, they will be receiving 1.5 million, and the city will be receiving 500,000.
Correct.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay. Do we know how much they will receive for 50% CEA?
Well, it
So
would-
about, we'll be split 1 million each?
Yes, correct.
Yeah?
It'd be 1 million each.
Okay.
Any other councilors? No? Any questions or comments from the public? Thank you very much for the presentation. And
you.
I'm going to move this to a vote. All in favor?
But point of order.
Whoa, Mickey.
And I'm sorry, we should have in the agenda reversed the order. So if you look at the agenda for item which Mary read, Order 129, it's actually the amendment of the existing TIF where Hathaway is to remove these buildings.
Yep.
So in order to create a new TIF for this project, we have to take the buildings out of the existing TIF. So we have to amend the existing TIF to do that, and then create the new. And you want to vote to create the new, but that's the next order, 130.
Okay,
So you-
we'll move swiftly from one to the next. I don't think it'll open up a new debate, I promise.
Okay.
All right, so we're on Order 129, 2019. All in favor?
That's the order to amend.
Yep, opposed?
Okay.
All right, so that was unanimous. Now we're on Order 130, 2019.
That's to create the new TIF.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
An order providing for designation of Lockwood Mills Apartments Affordable Housing Development and Tax Increment Financing District.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? 6 in favor, 1 opposed. Thank you guys very much. We look forward to working with you. Thanks.
One more point of order. The second vote
You're killing me, dude.
comes on August. The second vote comes on August 6th, and at that meeting, you'll have a public hearing. Normally, with TIF projects, the public hearing comes at the first meeting, but the timing wasn't such that it allowed them to have the notice in the newspaper early enough for tonight. And we've done this before, I think some of you remember. We've had public hearings, a second vote. So that will be next meeting.
Thanks.
I think that's it.
Great. All right, we're moving on to Resolution 131, 2019.
Mike, this is actually supposed to be an order. Do we need to make any sort of
Oh.
motion to change it to an order?
Yes, please, one of you, thank you.
I would make an motion to change this from a resolution to an order.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, so now we have Order 131, 2019.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
A resolution providing for authorization for city manager to execute cooperation agreement with Kennebec Sanitary Treatment District and Waterville Sewage District.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion?
Although I'm the one that's going to be executing the agreement, this gentleman here deserves the credit for putting it together with the two districts, the sewer district and Kennebec Sanitary Treatment. That road at the end of Water Street's been terrible for a long, long, long time. So Nick has worked with both those districts to get them to contribute, and contribute very generously towards the total cost. So I want to thank our city engineer for lining that up. Even though we're going to have to contribute some, this is definitely a win-win-win.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thanks, Nick.
Find this money.
So what's the line from where the work will take place?
Along with it, but in general sense, it starts at Kuchar Field. There's a butt joint in the pavement that the project would start, and it would end at the driveway entrance of Kennebec Sanitary Treatment District. And essentially, what happened was when the treatment district was built back in '73, the city retained ownership of the road. And to be quite honest, if you've driven down there, I don't know if it's been touched since '73, to be honest. Carl Moore said he's never seen anything done on that road, and he's been here since 1988, 1987. So it's been a long time. The city does own it, maintain ownership of it. And I have the '73 council order that executed that, but due to this or that, the fact that the city didn't use it as much as the districts used it, it never got fixed. So here we are, and finally getting it done. So.
Any other questions or comments? Take a vote. All in favor?
Thank you.
And we are at Resolution 132, 2019.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
A resolution providing for issuance of a pole permit to Consolidated Communications on Winter Street.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion?
Are there going to be a competition for spectrum? No?
I'm sorry.
Is there going to be competition for spectrum for lower prices for citizens?
Oh,
It's a simple relocation.
All in favor? Now we are at counselor updates. Are there any counselors? Yes.
So I don't know if this is possible, but I had a constituent and representative of the South End Neighborhood Association contact me and ask if it would be possible to move the next regularly scheduled meeting to Monday night because the first Tuesday in August is the National Night Out and the South End Neighborhood Association Festival.
This happens every time.
It does. And so I think we did that last year, but we may have done it with more planning. So. And I didn't know if there was a planning board meeting.
I'd never heard back from Ann
Okay.
Beveridge today about, because usually the first Monday is a
Yeah.
planning board meeting in
Yeah.
this room.
Okay.
So
So that would make it not possible.
we could try to
Well-
schedule them at City Hall instead, but
I promised to raise the issue, and so I have done my
If we can do it, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I just show up where I get told.
Ooh.
Oh, you. No way, man. No way, man.
There you go.
All right.
Wednesday.
Mike, you'll get back to us?
I can. I will
Okay.
get back to you once I find out about the planning board arrangement.
But for the public, I would like to say the
So
South End Neighborhood Association Festival National Night Out is fantastic. Good time for all music, hot dogs, burgers, cotton candy.
Mike, do we have any idea what are going to be what's the new business on the agenda going to be? I mean, is it going to be a long meeting?
Monday, August 5th?
Right.
Council meeting?
I mean, we're going to do a public hearing, and then we're going to talk about the things we've already talked about tonight.
We have 2 or 3 items, but no, it should not be a long meeting that night,
Okay.
from what we have right now.
Any other counselor updates? Community notes. Community notes is a time where if anybody has something they would like to speak about that we didn't already get to tonight, now would be the time to do it. We ask you come right up to the podium and tell us who you are. Oh, you don't need to let Scott in front of you. He saw that.
Hello, my name is Scott Mack. I'm a Waterville resident, but I'm here tonight to, on behalf of the Central Maine 4th of July celebration. I'd like to thank everybody who contributed to this year's event, via donation to our silent auction and dance, or any donations, and also everybody who came out and enjoyed all the festivities. And again, if it wasn't for all the gracious donations we get, then the festivities wouldn't go on. And also, a little preview, look forward to next year, because next year we're going to be celebrating 30 years of the celebration. So we look forward to that. Hopefully we'll be able to go beyond 30, but next year will be our 30th anniversary. So I'll definitely give more updates as time goes on of what we're going to be doing.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Leonard, and I'm here tonight representing the Maine Poor People's Campaign, which is the main branch of the National Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. This is a revival of a movement that began with Martin Luther King in the late 1960s and was caught up short when he was assassinated. But we have revived this movement, and it is now trying to build power around and awareness about the interlocking evils in our society of systemic poverty, systemic racism, militarism and the war economy, and ecological devastation, and also challenging relentlessly the narrative that suggests that people are poor because of their own fault and their own moral failures, as opposed to policy decisions that lead to poverty. The Poor People's Campaign uses what's called the Supplemental Poverty Measure to estimate poverty in this country. And according to the Supplementary Poverty Measure, 43.5% of all Americans live in poverty, or about $400 away from a crisis that will drop them right into the poverty ranks. In Maine, according to this measure, we have 540,000 poor or low-income people. This is a nonpartisan, nonviolent, non-denominational fusion movement, building power to shift the narrative and to bring about real systematic change in these areas. I'm here as a representative of that campaign in Maine, also Mindy Bergeron-Lawrence, my colleague, and there are a number of us in Waterville working very hard on this campaign, and Waterville has been designated by the Maine branch of the campaign as a logical site to be a hub for this movement, given the kinds of problems we have in our community as well as the kinds of changes that are underway here. We are in the long term planning for a big march. Across the country, people in the movement are planning for a big march in Washington, D.C. in June 2020. In the short term, next Sunday on July 21st from 1 to 3 p.m., we have an outreach meeting of the Maine Poor People's Campaign. Mindy and I will be there, and some others at the REM Center, 1 to 3 o'clock. REM Center, Sunday, July 21st. And anybody is welcome, and we'll have some music, and we'll have some food, and we'll have some conversation. I have some cards that give you some information about the Poor People's Campaign, as well as the website address. For the national campaign, you can also go on Facebook and look up the Maine Poor People's Campaign's Facebook page. And I'm happy to talk with anybody about this movement. I think it is the great civil rights movement of our time. And we believe many things in this movement, but one of the things we most fundamentally believe is that everybody has a right to live, everybody has a right to eat, everybody has a right to have decent housing, everybody has a right to have health care, and the list goes on. So feel free to raise your hand if you want me to give you a card that tells you more about the movement. You can contact me at edleonar@colby.edu, although I have recently retired, but I still have a Colby address. So if you're interested in more information, thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations on your retirement. I'll tell you, I know. Is there anybody else for community notes? Okay.
Yeah, Julian Payne, Ward 5. I'd heard some rumblings that there was going to be a council meeting with nonprofits to discuss future possible payments, and I hope to hear some updates down the road possibly. We have the most amount of nonprofits in this city, and healthcare costs keep going up, and the cost of doing business to provide services to the community. And I think it's probably time we had a serious discussion. They say that you can judge a society by how it treats the elderly within that society. And Waterville has one of the oldest populations in the entire nation. We're the oldest state in the nation, and I think Waterville hits #1 within that state. And I think that we need to protect the elderly in the community who are on fixed income. we're hearing how budgets are stuck to the penny, you know, everything from the library to every city department. We're squabbling over fire trucks for $1 million, and the needs are obviously there. They don't change, but the amount of money coming in seems to be stuck. So I think, you know, with the new council, it's definitely a discussion that the community could have, and I really got my eyes open to it when I saw that, you know, one nonprofit in another community pays annually $500,000 a year to the community as well as
Actually, Seton
taxes.
Village makes a pilot payment to the city of Waterville as well. Isn't that right, Mike? Seton Village makes a pilot payment to the city of Waterville.
Yes, they do.
Right, and then I know Bill Lee was looking into pilot programs and checking that there's no areas of crossing over from nonprofit status. So hopefully, you know, sometimes you make a big change, you do things always, and you say, oh, why did we always do it that way? And people reevaluate and think, and then you can go forward. And I think it would be a commitment to Waterville. Thank you.
Thanks.
Kathy Weeks, Ward 1. I'd kind of like to echo what Elizabeth was talking about tonight, but I'd like to focus in on the main Waterville taxpayers and the residents that are really struggling. It was a disappointment that we did have an increase in property tax. Thank you, Phil, for trying to help us with that, because we know there was still playroom on both sides, the school and the city. I did a little homework from one of the comments that was made when Mayor LePage was here, that the taxes kept going up. Well, I got this from the city data, so it must be true. When he came on board, the tax rate was $27.40. When he left, it was $19.49. So every year while he was mayor, that rate kept going down for us. And then after he left, it kept climbing when the new mayor stepped in. The median price for a senior resident in Waterville is $28,823. And to live on that amount of money, Mike, in our ward, I even have one resident saying, I count the cans of cat food to see if I can make it to the next week. So I am concerned about that. Pam Lane had a letter to the editor on July 4th talking about, you know, it's great that we have buildings down here and revitalization, but what about the residents? My other concern is it's great that we have revitalization. I think the Lockwood project is fabulous, but when we cannot even help out our own business that is here for 70 years, and the city manager turned the owners away when they asked to rescind those parking tickets. Now they have green cards for 2 hours and 45 minutes. The class goes for 2.5 hours. So that means these elderly ladies probably have 12 minutes to have lunch and move their car. It's a total disgrace that we cannot support a Maine Waterville resident of 70 years. Thank you.
Is there anybody else for community notes? Mike, we're at the manager's report.
Well, I sent out a copy of my report to all of you today, and I managed to leave mine behind at City Hall, so I'm trying to remember the list. I'll hit the high points because I think we have 8 major projects going on at the same time. First of all, the one that's probably been getting the closest to being finished is a pool. Hopefully it was getting close. We had real concerns about how quickly it was going to get done. In the last 2 weeks, I know that Matt and Nick have been a lot more encouraged about the slide complex being completed, so they may not make their own deadline of July 19th, but I think it will be finished before our season ends. So that's on the pool. The Main Street grant, the big grant regarding traffic on Main Street, is moving along slowly, but I think that in August, there'll be another major public hearing, most probably in this room, talking about the actual layout, and people will be able to see, I think, a lot more of the details. So I'm hoping that can happen in August. There's still a bit of work that needs to be done before that, but that's what we're shooting for. Streetlights, I mentioned earlier, coming out of the bond money. I thought they might be starting a little sooner, and I know Mark is working on that. It may be maybe a few months before they actually start, do you think? Yep. Probably September, October. I was hoping it'd be sooner, but it's coming. The Head of Falls project, something that's kind of been dormant now for 2 months down at Head of Falls, the idea of a mixed-use development. So we're going to be resuming our meetings with that developer. And matter of fact, August 6th, next meeting, we'd like to have them come and be introduced to the City Council, and they can talk about their ideas. We still need to enter into a formal agreement with them as to how the city and that group works together at that site. So that work is going on that legal agreement, a very, very important legal agreement.
So my understanding is you do have that draft agreement, and that's going to be reviewed by the city attorney?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. We've already started that, and it's a complicated agreement that we haven't been through before, so trying to make sure all the Ts are crossed, Is are dotted. Concourse redesign, that work is still going on, and I think that August, hopefully?
August, we'll see a progress plan.
Okay, so August we'll see a proposed design for the concourse redesign, hopefully to gain more parking out back. The Castangway Square project, of course, that depends a lot on what happens to the center building next to it. So that's a little bit slower in moving along than the others. So that's 7 out of 8. I don't remember what the 8th one was. Does anybody have that?
Solar project?
Solar project, yes.
Solar project. The 2 sites, our landfill, and across the road is what's called the old Runser site. That Runser site, which is a smaller project, 5 megawatts, that looks like it's going to start this fall. Hopefully, this fall construction. The key thing with that project, well, as it is with both of them, is finding a purchaser for the power. So that one will happen this fall. The one at the landfill is probably, well, it's 1 or 2 years away. But they are definitely making moves every month to keep it going forward. That's my list. If there's any questions, a lot going on.
Yes, definitely.
Which is all good.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.